Hi, Max. So this is just my initial thoughts from reading the essay, and we need to chat about this, just to let me know your thinking. I think from looking at it, there's a lot of information which is relevant to the essay, has the foundation to create a good essay, but it's not written as an academic research essay, which is exactly what it needs to be. Um, you need to look at the resources, the help resources that are in the World Studies extended essay team. Look at the headings which are recommended because it seems that the information's in there, but it's not under the relevant headings. And formatting is absolutely crucial because it's going to point the examiner in the right direction, saying, yes, the student's done this, the student has done that. I'm going to sort of like show you an example of an essay which is very similar to yours. It's not exactly the same because these are hydroelectric power plants which have been developed already, but it's a similar essay. Essentially, what you seem to be looking at here is, okay, how does you're looking at the conflicting interest between the potential of sites to develop kilowatts per hour of hydroelectric power in relation to the socio-economic geographical impacts, something like that. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong. One thing you must do is, if I just show you this here, this was feedback on an essay very similar. So, student put assessing a method of improving environmental sustainability. Well, it wasn't enough words. Having been on courses, what they strongly recommend is there is as much information as possible in not so much the essay title, but it's certainly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 words there is not enough. But certainly in the research question needs to be as detailed as possible. So if you're looking at to what extent are the benefits of hydroelectric power in the form of having the potential to generate kilowatts per hour of pollution-free um, electricity had in relation to the socio-economic or environmental impacts, whatever you're looking at, and then you name the locations as well. So you need to lay it out as a proper title page. Uh, like this, but more detail than the student has used here in terms of the essay title and the research question. So you need to formulate more specifics in that research question. Now, what I'm picking up is a real lack of reference in here. I mean, I start reading this and straight away I see statistics jump out like 10 billion tons of greenhouse gases. Well, how do you know that? It's can't come from your head. No, it's probably come from a source and therefore it needs citing. Any data at all, anything at all, needs citing. And then it becomes an academic essay because it becomes academic essay based on research. What you've written is actually pretty good, but it needs restructuring, it needs referencing. Okay? At the moment, we don't have any figure numbers in there. Okay? And figure numbers are important because you need that, you're going to refer to that graph in your text, and therefore you must refer to the figure number. Um, so, yeah, I mean, let's show you what this introduction needs to look like. Okay, I mean, we got that there. I mean, yeah, there's no figure number. It's not a multi-stage map. It's just, well, it's sort of, but it needs to have maybe, a map of the, whatever, Southeast Asia, something to create a proper multi-stage map like you have done in your internal assessment. And if you're using one, if you decide to go with one or two, then you'll know you'll need two multi-stage maps, or you need one multi-stage map with both of these hydroelectric power plants on them, or just the one if you narrow it down to that. And I think, you just need to think about how much words you're using. And if you're using, quite a lot of words with one, then stick with one if you can get an in-depth analysis for that. If not, go for the comparison. Okay, so you'll need a contents page. We can see here a contents page, introduction, methodology. All of these are subheadings, and your essay does need more subheadings. Let's show you this. So you see the introduction, with the references, that referencing does need to be in there. I'm not sure this is the finished, yeah, it is the finished version actually, because, yeah, of course it's been assessed by the examiner. But as much referencing as possible. Now, in that, I suggest you go for the physics perspective, the geography perspective, and then you sort of like have why the interdisciplinary approach works. And it does. It works really well for this essay because geography cannot help you understand the physics of the potential to generate hydroelectric power at these plants. You need to go into the physics. So you do have, a good foundation here for an essay, but it needs restructuring, or it needs subheadings and it needs referencing. It needs formatting correctly. So you've got exploring. I mean, this student's gone down that line. They use subheadings, and I suggest you put these subheadings in. And when I look at it again, I can always tell you to take them out, but put as many in as possible. Make sure it's referenced correctly. Yeah, we can see the subheadings here. Okay, relevance to research essay. Now, I'm not saying this is definitely the right way to do it, because I would suggest you have the introduction, you use these subheadings, and you talk about things like, what is the global issue? Why is the global issue significant? Why is it worthy of study? What's the physics approach? Maybe using some subheadings. Where are you coming from? How is physics helping you to write this essay? Then go for the geography approach as separate subheadings. Then go for a subheading which has the interdisciplinary approach. Look at the resources um, in the team, and you will see how to structure this essay. Okay? So I think with a bit of restructuring, it's worth me looking at it again, because I think it will read a bit easier on the eyes when you do that. Okay. So, like I said, mention the multi-stage maps. Yeah, just not reference. You see, you've got here, from a physics perspective, it's important to know how much energy will actually be produced. This is good, but it needs a subheading, um, physics approach, and maybe something physics approach and then a subheading, potential to generate hydroelectric power. Okay, uh, and it needs to be, you're looking at probably about that much writing at least for each academic approach. Okay, so yeah, it needs restructuring. Um, yeah, see this really, really just long paragraphs of text. I mean, that calculation in there. Where's that come from? Is that you done that? Where have you got the equation from? Where's it come from? I don't know. It's just a lot of writing, a lot of text. So I think the best way to go about this is that you start to use the structure which is suggested to you. Um, Make sure this is formatted correctly with figure numbers. Um, and then I can sort of it's easier for me to see exactly where you are going with the essay. Let me just go back to the team and let me show you where this is. Um, just Let's just go to that document. In fact, okay. So if I go to the World Studies Extended Essay Team, let me show you where this is. Okay, writing frame. Look at this. We've got a writing frame here, and you need to apply this. Right, that's what your title page should look like. Table of contents. Introduction. Introduce it. Introduce the essay. Use reference it. Cite things accordingly. The global issue. What to include. Local significance. It needs to have a local manifestation. That's where you put your multi-stage maps. That's where you introduce the areas and the significance of the essay relating to those areas. Yeah. Location area. Yeah, location area is there in the separate subheading. Wider disciplinary approach. Geography perspective. Physics perspective. Read that there. Hypothesis only if necessary. I don't think you need a hypothesis. Methodology. Needs a subheading methodology. I don't think I saw that in there. Um, okay, follow that. Data presentation, stroke analysis. So, I mean, when you're doing the data presentation, stroke analysis, you'll need to be using subheadings there. Looking at the two sites, looking at the geography perspective in terms of the impacts there, looking at the potential creation of energy from the physics perspective. So, my suggestion, I'm just going to go back to your essay again, which I've got here, is I need to see this formatted. And when I see it formatted, it's going to be easier for me to point you in the right direction. Because look at that. A lot of work there, but it's just reams and reams of text. Okie dokie. So do that, and then we'll look at it again.